Hitler was the commander-in-chief of all branches of the German armed forces, including the Kriegsmarine. His authority was exercised through the Oberkommando der Marine, the High Command of the Kriegsmarine. This was headed by Gross Admiral Erich Raeder. Within the Oberkommando der Marine, there were 5 officers responsible for naval construction, weapons, and general naval affairs. The most important office was the Seekriegsleitung, which was also headed by Raeder and oversaw the planning and execution of operations and directed the distribution of naval forces. The Seekriegsleitung, along with Naval Groups North and West, prepared a number of studies for the deployment of heavy forces in the Atlantic, which formed the basis of operational instructions. Raeder recognized that the numerically inferior Kriegsmarine could not readily achieve dominance over the Atlantic. Nevertheless, he hoped that local and limited control could be achieved. Raeder believed that the British would be forced to strengthen the escorts provided to convoys at the price of reducing the strength of the Royal Navy in home waters and in the Mediterranean, or by reducing the frequency of convoys. Raeder's views on the employment of heavy warships were influenced by his experiences during the Great War. The leaders of the Kaiserlich Marine had been heavily criticized for their failure to effectively employ the battle line during the course of the war. For his part, Raeder was determined that under no circumstances would a similar situation develop in the deployment of the surface vessels of the Kriegsmarine. On the 2nd of April 1941, Raeder issued his operational instructions for a new sortie into the Atlantic by the capital ships of the Kriegsmarine. In this, he envisaged the deployment of 4 battleships against Allied commerce in the Atlantic: Bismarck, Tirpitz, Scharnhorst, and Gneisenau. The idea conceived by Raeder was that the Bismarck and Tirpitz would put to sea from Gottenhafen and would rendezvous in the North Atlantic with the Scharnhorst and Gneisenau, which would sail from Brest. The assumption was that with these 4 ships at large in the Atlantic, the British would be forced to suspend convoys and might even be forced to withdraw some of their battleships from the Mediterranean. This plan was not to be, however. Having arrived at Brest at the conclusion of Operation Berlin, the superheaters of the Scharnhorst were replaced. Although her engineers had kept the ship going throughout the 2 months that the ship had spent in the Atlantic, a great deal of work was required in order to keep them operational. Further hopes for the operation were dashed on the 6th of April, when Gneisenau sustained severe damage below the waterline when she was torpedoed by a Bristol Beaufort of No. 22 Squadron RAF Coastal Command, flown by Flying Officer Kenneth Campbell, who would be awarded the Victoria Cross for his action. Additionally, the Tirpitz was not ready for operations. Faced with this, Raeder made the decision that the Bismarck would embark on the sortie into the Atlantic, accompanied by the heavy cruiser Prinz Eugen. The Prinz Eugen was a heavy cruiser of the Admiral Hipper class. Laid down at the Krupp Germania yard in Kiel on the 23rd of April 1936, the ship was launched 28 months later, on the 22nd of August 1938. The ship was 697 feet long and possessed a beam of 71 feet. Armed with 8 8-inch guns mounted in 4 twin turrets in the conventional layout of 2 forward and 2 aft, the ship carried a secondary armament of 12 4.1-inch guns housed in 6 twin mounts. As a defense against aircraft, the ship was armed with 12 1.5-inch anti-aircraft guns housed in 6 twin turrets, along with 8 0.7-inch single-mount anti-aircraft guns. The armament was rounded off with 12 torpedo tubes in 4 triple mounts. Powered by 3 Germania-worth steam turbines which drove 3 propeller shafts, each of which was capped with a 3-blade propeller, the ship was capable of attaining a speed of 32 knots. Prinz Eugen was equipped with 2 Fumo 27 radar sets with 6.5 by 13-foot mattress antennas. One of the radar sets was located on the foretop rangefinder housing, while the second was on the rangefinder on the aft control center. Amidships was a hangar and a catapult arrangement to allow the ship to launch aircraft. Prinz Eugen had the ability to carry 3 Arado AR-196 floatplanes. In order to operate, Prinz Eugen carried a complement of 50 officers and 1,500 other ranks, all of whom were under the command of Captain Zusi Helmut Brinkmann. Lutyens received his operational orders on the 22nd of April, which were clear-cut and well-defined. He was ordered to break out into the North Atlantic and to attack the convoys travelling to and from Britain. The timing, duration, and scope of the operation were all left to his discretion. He was to avoid taking unnecessary risks, which meant that, where possible, he was to avoid engagements with enemy capital ships. Risks were, however, permitted if they offered a suitable prize, namely the destruction of an enemy convoy. On the 5th of May, Hitler travelled to Gotenhafen to inspect both Bismarck and Tirpitz. Hitler and his party were met by Lutyens and members of his staff. Piped aboard at 10:20 a.m. with the ship's band playing Deutschland über alles, followed by the official song of the Nazi Party, Horst Wessel Lied, Hitler spent 4 hours aboard the Bismarck touring the ship, which he had last seen when she had been launched. A guard of honour was reviewed on the quarterdeck before a tour was given on the aft battery and fire control equipment. During the course of Hitler's visit to the Tirpitz, the ship's commanding officer, Captain Zusi Karl Topp, delivered an impassioned plea that the Tirpitz be allowed to accompany Bismarck when she embarked upon her first sortie. The plea was rejected. The Bismarck officially succeeded Gneisenau as the fleet flagship on the 13th of May, when Lutyens reported aboard the Bismarck to assume his duties. Over the next few days, Bismarck and Prinz Eugen conducted a series of exercises before, on the 16th of May, Lutyens informed Naval Group North that Bismarck and Prinz Eugen would be ready for action and that Operation Rheinübung would commence at midnight on the 18th of May.
Many thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more updates, like and share. You can also help to support the channel at Patreon. Details are in the description box below.